Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you guys about us educating our children. And I'm just going to be blunt and say it. We need to talk to them about race. As much as our other counterparts say, don't worry about color and all of this stuff, they're teaching their kids about race. They're teaching their kids about slavery. They're teaching their kids about our ancestors. Why do I say this? Because I'm a middle-class black man. I have a family and everything, and my kids go to school, go to a good school. And I'm just gonna say it as it is. We live in a white area. As much as you make videos talking about race, you see a lot of white folks come on the video with their comments talking about, oh, why you gotta bring up race? Why you gotta bring up race? Why you gotta bring up race? And again, this isn't speaking for all white people, but it's because you're teaching your kids about race. You're teaching them about how we're beneath y'all, so to speak. And again, this isn't for all white people, but I'm just talking about my experience. My kids who, yes, we spoke on the history and everything like that, but I didn't go in depth. I just told them, the basics, so to speak. But after this experience, we gave them a full crash course. My kids going to school, experiencing other kids talking about, I'm gonna get the whip, pick cotton, you're my slave. Things that they did not experience when we was in the hood. And let me tell you, in the hood, it wasn't just black kids there. It was multitude of races in those schools. But here we move out of there, come to the middle class, and their biggest issue that they're facing is race, or how they're being targeted because they're one of the select few of black kids in the school or in the area that we live. Then on top of that, a situation occurred where they basically tried to set up my kids talking about things that absolutely not a 12-year-old, not a 7-year-old should know about. So when I originally made this video, I couldn't go into details of what was actually going on with my son or my kids because it turned into a criminal investigation. Just to give you guys a short breakdown of what happened, these 3 little boys basically held down my son, well, 2 of them, while one of them basically threatened my daughter to say that her brother touched her in her no-no spots as he recorded this. And then after they got this footage, they come to my doorstep talking about, hey, we recorded your kids saying something that was inappropriate. We found it inappropriate. So when they played it, you couldn't really hear what they were saying, so to speak. The camera didn't have anybody in sight. It's like he had the camera like kind of downwards, and all you heard was my daughter was saying, he touched me something. Like you couldn't really exactly hear, but if you listen closely, you'll hear her saying, he touched me in the no-no spots. But at the time, I was like, I don't understand what's going on. He was like, basically, she said that he touched him in the no-no spots. Now, remind you, these same kids was bullying my son, calling him racial slurs and all of these other things. So after he said that, I was like to my kids, like, why would y'all do something like that? Like, so I told them we'll handle it, and that was that. So after talking to my kids, and it was a failure on our part because at the time we were so enraged, we didn't hear what they had to say. We just lectured them, and wifey was like, yo, you gotta be careful with what you say, this, that, and the third, because you could have the cops showing up at the doorstep. This little boy goes to school, send it to everybody, send it on Snapchat, the whole 9, basically making a name for himself. And now everybody in the school is calling him rapist, all this other stuff, right? So now this gets to the teachers and eventually gets to the police. So police give a phone call saying, yo, we're going to have to do an investigation. DIFUS is coming, all this other stuff. After they did their investigation, they immediately closed the case because they understood what actually happened with the history of the racism, all of these things that my son was facing. All of those made them come to the conclusion that this was a targeted attack. So now we're gonna look for the next steps to take proper actions against the school and against that family. I know I've spoken earlier about, these white kids at the school talking about, hey, I'm gonna get the whip and stuff like this. These also these kids are using the N-word left to right. So when I asked my kid, like, yo, isn't there other black kids in the school? And he's like, yeah, because those white kids were saying, oh, we have a pass. So I'm like, don't the other black kids say anything? They're like, no, they say they have a pass. And I'm like, do they even know what this word means? The kids don't even know what it means. So they're just really looking at it as, yeah, they get a pass. So you literally have white kids walking around in front of teachers and the whole nine using the N-word loosely like it's all good. And these kids have no idea the significance of what's going on. So yes, we definitely need to teach our kids about everything as much as possible, because you don't want them exposed to these things out in the streets, because a lot of other kids don't have the best intentions. And I understand as kids we joked around and stuff like this, but we literally did not maliciously try to play around with you where we could get you in trouble with the law or send, police to your doorstep. We didn't take it that far. This is a new type of game that these other kids are playing. So clearly, these parents are teaching these kids these things. They are teaching them about slavery in a different way or in a different framework. And when you're hearing they're teaching curriculums like, oh, slavery was beneficial to black people and they want to erase slavery out of the books, what do you think you're going to get when these other kids are saying these type of things? They're thinking it's all good. It's not as bad as it was. We need to teach our kids, yo, it was that bad. Damn what they say. Oh, they could say some slave owners wasn't that bad, whatever the case is. Nah, damn all that. It was ugly. It was terrible. You separated families. You killed people, hung them by trees, the whole nine. So yes, I don't care about how guilty it's gonna make XYZ feel. Forget all that. No, it's part of the history. And guess what? You gotta live with it. Even if it was the ancestors or whatever the case may be, you can't hide your history. It happened. So we need to do our diligence to teach our children. I understand, you might have to be careful with the words you choose and everything like that, because it's not to make your kids feel malice or feel some type of way against those that don't look like them. No, it's to educate them. So when these people try to say disrespectful things or joke around with things that shouldn't be joked around with, the children can correct them. They say, no, we're not playing those games. Because guess what? Remember that girl that fought some white girl and bashed her head into the cement and she was hospitalized and possibly facing criminal charges and all of this stuff? And they said, oh, she beat the girl up, blah, blah, blah. Do you know why that happened in actuality? Because they tried to paint it as she was a white girl and the black girl targeted her. The reason why that happened was because that black girl was being called all types of racial slurs and everything. So it built up and festered up, and the girl actually got suspended from school. And then the next day, that's when they went to square up, and that's what happened. So in a nutshell, to avoid the violence that may come with it, kids sitting up here disrespecting kids, you with racial slurs and all this stuff, and I get it. They're kids. They might not understand the magnitude of what they're doing. That's why it's our job to teach our kids, so that if these parents don't want to educate their children on what's wrong, at least those kids can tell them, yo, this is wrong and it's unacceptable. Because if our kids don't know that it's wrong or that it's bad, this is going to continue on. And all that's going to lead is those kids who don't know no better thinking it's cool, and they're going to say the wrong thing to the wrong person, and it's going to be a big misunderstanding. So, yes, talk about race. Talk about these things. Because at the end of the day, not talking about it ain't going to solve a damn thing. And like I said, that is the history of the country. I don't care how much you try to hide it, that's the reality of the situation. And the more you try to hide it, the more people's gonna get hurt. The more it's gonna mentally screw kids. With that being said, this is Walls P. Teach your kids, everybody, because that's important and our kids need to know their history. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Do what you want with the video, do what you want with the information, but I know what I'm gonna do with my kids. I educate them, teach them their history and the whole nine. This way they could protect themselves and let people know I am not going to tolerate this. And I know some people are gonna take this as, oh, I'm bashing white people. No, it's the reality of the situation. It's the freaking reality of the situation. So take it as you like. You don't like it, unsubscribe, whatever the case may be. If you feel some type of way, it is what it is. Because at the end of the day, we want like-minded people who can actually sit down and have these adult conversations. With that being said, I'm your boy Walls P. This is Matter of Opinion. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
It's a matter of opinion.